What's up, everybody? Matt Modi here. We're talking through early bangers for the NFL Week 3 betting slate. The way that I'm playing today, normally I have two separate types of categories, early bets and underdogs. Today, I'm just combining them into one. I found three NFL underdogs that I like to win straight up. So we're playing the money line, we're playing the spread, admittedly playing these pretty heavily, but I like all three of these teams to win straight up, so we might as well do that. As for Week 2, not quite as successful in Week 2 as we were in Week 1. Now, we did do well with our early NFL bets. We got two of those three to cash. Pretty brutal beat. We were so close to going 3-0, but the Texans kind of choked away their cover on Sunday Night Football, but we did win our other two bets. Didn't have any underdogs for you guys last week, so 0 for 0 with 0 units of profit there. Player props were admittedly pretty rough. We cashed some pretty juicy plus money bangers, but overall lost more than we won. Had a pretty rough player prop week in Week 1. Or excuse me, Week 2. Week 1 was amazing. So if we look at the entire season, we're green in all three categories, which is all that we can ask for. We are 4-2 on our 6 early NFL bets, up 1.85 units there. We're 1-1 on underdogs as we played 2 in Week 1, went 1-1 there, but because the plus money was profitable. And we're still profitable on player props because of how good Week 1 went. So just one down week with player props isn't going to scare me off. Obviously, player props are going to come later in the season. I just kind of want to recap every category that we play and kind of go 1 week at a time while also going the entire season so you know exactly where we are at. As for this video, again, we're going early NFL bets, 3 underdogs that I like to win straight up. I would appreciate it if you are new to my channel, if you could hit that subscribe button. And then for this specific video, if you could comment, I would appreciate that as well. And then the last thing that I will mention is that I do have a dub club where I send all my plays out. It's only $5 a month. It gets everything that you're playing, everything that I'm playing, sent directly to your phone via text, email, or Telegram. So if you don't want to watch the YouTube videos or you just want to lock the plays in before the odds change, because the first thing I do is send them out to Dub Club. Link to that is in the description as well as the pinned comment. If you're not interested in that, no problem. I give out everything for free on YouTube and on Twitter. You just have to wait a little bit. And let's get into these bangers. So play number 1. I am taking the Vikings +3, -120 odds at Bet365. I'm also putting a half unit on the Vikings money line, which you can get at +125 at Bet365 as well. So playing the Vikings full unit on the spread, half unit on the money line. The Vikings are playing the Texans, and they're actually hosting this game. So they're a home dog in this case. Now, I'll admit, I was skeptical of the Vikings heading into this season. Even after Week 1, when they demolished the Giants, I was still skeptical because it was the Giants. I'm gonna be honest. I'm kind of a believer in the Vikings. Now, believer is not me saying they're going to win the Super Bowl. I just think that they're going to be a good team. Now, you don't want to be too reactionary, right? 2 weeks in the NFL is nothing. But Sam Darnold legitimately looks good. Who would have thought? You get these quarterbacks out of Carolina. Look at Baker Mayfield. Look at Sam Darnold. Maybe the problem is Carolina. Maybe the problem... And look at how the Cleveland quarterbacks are doing. Deshaun Watson was the name I'm looking for. He's not doing great either. So maybe these quarterbacks that struggled in Carolina, maybe they're better than we think. Who knows? Either way, Sam Darnold legitimately looks good. And he did it against good competition. Week 1, Giants, sure. Explain that away. Week 2 against the 49ers, much different competition there. Now, we did throw an interception, which turnovers are always going to be an issue for Sam Darnold, but he threw for 268 yards. He threw for 2 touchdowns. And overall, the Vikings offense hung 400 yards. Over 400 yards against the 49ers. Now, sure, the 49ers, they're coming off of Monday Night Football, so short week, and they had to travel for that game against the Vikings because they were an away game. But still, the Vikings offense looked awesome in that game. Now, the Justin Jefferson injury, no concerns there. It was just a thigh contusion. He'll be fine. He'll play this week. No issues there. Overall, you look at PFF, which is right now, I'm recording this on Monday, the only website that is updated for the results of Week 2. As soon as we get more advanced stats, I'll look into those as well. But DVOA, fantasy points, fantasy whatever, none of that stuff is updated yet. PFF has the Vikings as the 4th best offense in the NFL through 2 games. They have the 3rd best passing offense and the 7th best rushing offense. Part of their success against the 49ers last week was on the ground game, where Ty Chandler had 82 yards and only 10 carries. And Aaron Jones has looked decent running the ball as well. He didn't look great in Week 2. He looked good in Week 1, and he's looked good overall. And their defense, honestly, the thing that I think might be the most carry over the rest of the season. Their offense might come and go with Sam Darnold. Their defense has been awesome through 2 games. I think might continue to be awesome. What is really encouraging are quotes after the game from Brock Purdy, where he went up to, if you didn't see this, he went up to Brian Flores, who's the Vikings defensive coordinator, after the game, talked to him about how crazy his schemes were, how crazy Brian Flores' schemes were. Now, if you can out-scheme Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers offense and confuse Brock Purdy, whose thing is supposed to be he knows where to go with the ball and he's good at dissecting a defense, that's very encouraging. Now, maybe if you want to make the argument that teams are going to catch up, maybe. We've seen good schemes last an entire season. Good defenses obviously last an entire season. So, very, very impressed with the Vikings. While the Texans, yes, they're 2-0. Not a super inspiring 2-0 start for the Texans. You know, they did win and win against the Colts in a kind of a crazy game. Their offense scored some points. A lot of that was on chunk plays. Their defense gave up chunk plays. Kind of a weird week 1 game. Last week, maybe I'm just mad at them because they didn't cover the spread for me, last night, Sunday Night Football, not a very encouraging game for the Texans. A pretty gross offensive performance. They only scored 19 points. They are bailed out by 3 long field goals from their kicker, who is an awesome kicker, but still, 2 50-plus yard field goals, 1 long 40, like in the high 40s yard field goal as well. And you look at last year, their offense, the Texans, lights out against bad competition. You play them against a bad defense, it's not going to go well for that defense. But they were legitimately bad against good defenses. Now, they took an absolute blowtorch to the Browns in the playoffs, who had a good defense. So maybe that narrative, maybe when it matters, that narrative isn't true. But all I'm saying is, in all of the regular season games we've seen from CJ Stroud, he struggles against good defenses. The stat bear that out. That's a concern to start this season. They did not look good against the Bears, who do have a good defense. So give me the Vikings. Give me them to win straight up. Give me them to cover the spread. I love this angle on the Vikings. That's play number 1. Play number 2, I'm taking the Chargers. They're playing the Steelers. I'm taking the Chargers for 1 unit plus 2.5 minus 105 at ESPN Bet. I'm also playing the Chargers money line plus 120 for a half unit also at ESPN Bet. Now, this is another situation where both these teams are 2-0. But, I mean, the Steelers, yeah, they're 2-0, and yeah, their defense is legit. Their defense has looked great. The Steelers have scored 1 offensive touchdown through 2 games. Here are the quarterbacks that they have played. And I know the Chargers' schedule has also been easy. I'll get into that. The Steelers have beaten the corpse of Kirk Cousins, who looked like he couldn't move. And, you know, I'm recording this on Monday. If he dices up my Eagles tonight, I will not be happy. But he actually, they just destroyed, the corpse of Kirk Cousins. A lot of C's there. And they also, rookie Bo Nix. Rookie Bo Nix looked terrible last week against Seattle. He looked terrible yet again against the Steelers. So that's not necessarily a Steelers thing. He's looked terrible through 2 games. Now, you can only play who's on the schedule. And they are 2-0. Both of their wins were by 1 score. They beat the Falcons 18-10, and then they beat the Broncos 13-6. Like 2 performances in which they didn't even score 20 points, especially when their defense continually gave them the ball in advantageous situations, is not very impressive. And I get it. The Chargers have also had an easy schedule. The difference is the Chargers won both of those games by double digits. They beat the Raiders by 12, and they just annihilated the Panthers. Now, the Panthers are terrible, absolutely terrible. Bryce Young will make any defense look good, 100%. But what I'm trying to say here is that these teams have played a combined 4 really bad teams. The Chargers won both these games by double digits. The Steelers won both these games by 1 score. That's a huge difference. And if you just look at PFF, look at PFF. The Chargers have the best defense in the NFL through 2 games, above the Steelers. The Steelers are 4th. The Chargers are 1st. Yeah, Bryce Young will make any defense look good. So will Kirk Cousins, and so will Bo Nix. And then on the other side of the ball, significantly more trust in this Chargers offense than against this Steelers offense, right? That's not a bold take. Yeah, Justin Herbert is better than Justin Fields. And again, the Steelers have scored 1 offensive touchdown through 2 games. They've played 2 one-score games, while the Chargers have won both games by double digits. A bigger, in my opinion, barometer is teams that beat the brakes off of bad teams. That's something that you can count on week over week. The teams that win these games by close scores, by 1 score, isn't necessarily reliable. And the Chargers beat the Raiders by 12. The Raiders just beat the Ravens. So maybe the Raiders are better than we think. Either way, the Chargers beat them by 12. Either way, I like the Chargers to win the game straight up, which obviously means they cover the spread. That's play number 2, team number 2. And then our third and final pick of the video is also the juiciest pick of the video. I'm taking the Patriots plus 6.5. You can get this at minus 108 odds at DraftKings. I'm also putting a half unit on the Patriots money line, which you can get at plus 245 odds at FanDuel. Now, this is the third straight week that I'm taking the Patriots to cover the spread. I didn't take them to win in weeks 1 or 2, but I do think that they've been criminally undervalued. And honestly, I love the fact that the Patriots ended up losing last week because, in my opinion, that means they're still going to be undervalued. If they had won, this game would not be 6.5. And that game went into overtime. Like, that game was a coin flip. The Patriots defense is legit, and that's kind of why I think this is a play. Through 2 games, PFF gives them the 12th ranked defense, which, yeah, that's not on Steelers or Chargers level, but, you know, they beat and shut down Joe Burrow in week 1. Whatever you want to say about how slow the Bengals always start a season, that still means that the Patriots shut them down. And I will admit they did give up some passing yards to week 2 against Geno Smith. Geno made some amazing throws. You watch some of the throws that he made. Geno was incredible. That was more about how good he was and less about how bad the Patriots defense was. And also the Patriots, at least they totally shut down the Steelers running game. Yeah, Kenneth Walker was out, but they still did what they needed to do. Seahawks allowed 358 yards of total offense. That's a much, much more reasonable number when you look at that as a whole, as opposed to just looking at the passing yards. And then on the other side of the field, talking about the Jets. Yeah, they won last week. They won by 7. That victory did not inspire a ton of confidence at all. They won part of because they got a pretty boneheaded, they were on the beneficiary of a boneheaded turnover by Will Levis. He was falling down. He flipped the ball backwards to try to get, so he didn't get sacked. Ended up fumbling, recovered by the Jets. That's Will Levis. That's the Will Levis experience. Jacoby Brissett is not going to make those mistakes. And the Jets offense through 2 games now, 2 very unimpressive performances. Last week against the Titans, they recorded 265 total yards. That's brutal. Keep in mind, the Vikings put up over 400 against the 49ers. The Jets could only record 265. Aaron Rodgers threw for 176 himself. And the Jets defense, which was supposed to be one of the best defenses in the NFL heading into the year, has not been the case through 2 games. Now, you're going to say that getting smoked by the 49ers, you can accept that. That's fine. But against the Titans, they did allow 130 rushing yards. And that's the biggest concern for the Jets, is their rush defense. It's the second straight game in which they have been had on the ground. Again, you can excuse that from the 49ers. You cannot excuse that going up against the Texans. Through 2 games, the Jets have the 21st ranked defense. That's bad. And the 5th worst rushing defense specifically. That's very bad. And that's an advantage that the Patriots should be able to take advantage of. The Patriots should be able to take advantage of. Good wordsmith there from me. The Patriots have been able to run the ball incredibly well through 2 games to start the season. They only have the 8th best running offense according to PFF, which is, I thought it would be higher, but they ran for 170 yards against the Bengals, 4.5 yards per carry, and 185 against Seattle, 4.7 yards per carry. This was a Seattle defense that shut down the Broncos last week, which I talked about. I get the Broncos offense stinks, but the Patriots ran all over them. I think the Patriots win this game. I'm not ready to buy in on Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. I think they've looked bad through 2 games just because they won last week. They should not be 6.5 point favorites against the Patriots. Give me the Patriots to win straight up. I absolutely love this play. 3 underdogs that we like to cover, that we also like to win straight up. Playing 1 unit on each of the spreads, playing a half unit on each of the money lines. It's going to be kind of interesting. Like, if the Patriots win and cover, I think that'll be a guaranteed week in the green. But if 2 of these teams win, then we're good to go. It'll be interesting if, like, some cover the spread, some don't. We'll have to kind of see how the numbers shake out. But either way, 3 plays that I absolutely love, and that's all we got. I appreciate everybody for watching. Make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and have a good one.